How's going? Red light on the camera, that's going. I should have asked, sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna call the order of the select board meeting of March 18th, 2025 at 6 P.M. First, if you would please join us in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review, start with Christina and work our way around.
Good, thank you.
But. All right, Old Town Business. Spoken with two board members, we're gonna do the bylaw update and review at the next meeting, first meeting in April. Nick? Sounds good. That's Swanton Rec. Yes, Swanton Rec bylaws. Under Old Town Business 7A, Steve. Brian.
Okay, I just, in that they go rather quickly, I mean, that's, first time license applicants here, I would like to, if possible, move the, liquor control board to, after the presentation and the presentation thing, so it's one to stay with them.
Okay, everybody good with that?
And then, under, I guess it would be under new business, discuss the, easement for the Jerry Mill water. Crossing. We did, but we finally got it. I think we nailed it.
Actually, we'll do that under old business. Old business, it's a continuation and it's pretty straightforward.
Just got a question about the bylaws update. I wasn't here for all of it. Will you send suggestions over to Christina to edit or?
That's what we did, so you wouldn't have been on the board prior to that, so if you have something. You wanna send it along, that would be good.
Okay, I'll do that.
I'll tell you, it might be better if you wait and by Monday we will send out. We took some of the stuff and we're gonna just have another version of that, so you might wanna just take a look at that, we'll email it to you.
Okay.
So I'll give you a couple weeks, does that work?
That works.
Okay. All right. Minutes, specials.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and second to approve the special organizational meeting minutes of March 5, 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Public comments, and that is for anything that is not on the agenda. We got anybody on the Zoom? Okay, we'll move on to law enforcement. Is that how you pronounce that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
there's a bunch of different ways.
yes, that's why.
Yes.
The board chief is on vacation. So he was gonna send Sergeant Beto, but he's already 60 days, so it's like.
Yeah, me. Monday off.
Day off.
Thanks for coming in.
I know. Especially since the weather's getting.
Alright, Sir Nickel.
February 2025, we had 48 incidents. Top 10 incident types are gonna be 7 for community outreach, 5 crash and property damage. 5 motor vehicle complaints, 4 suspicious persons, 3 alarms, 3 threatening complaints. 2 driving with a license suspended, 2 directed patrols, 1 citizen assist. 7 traffic stops, 2 tickets, 8 warnings. All of the tickets and warnings were associated with traffic. We arrested 3 individuals, or 4 arrests with 3 individuals, I'm not sure why it says that. 5 total charges. Out of all those arrests, 2 of the arrests were associated with traffic. We also did 12.25 hours of additional service, so those are in the back. If we dealt with a phone problem, harassment, traffic hazard, 6 community outreaches, 3 direct patrols, 2 suspicious person circumstances.
Well, the numbers that we took 48 overall, we usually see close to 90. Good thing.
So I didn't, I didn't pull these numbers, so yeah, February is kind of a weird week for us, especially with the snowstorm, things kind of slow down, I've noticed. It's very weather dependent, yeah, a couple fewer days, so yeah, it could just be a month, sometimes it kind of ebbs and flows, but now that the weather's starting to get nicer, I think we're gonna see an uptick in calls for service for us. Most people are out and about and hanging out together now outside in the weather, we usually right around like April-ish, when the weather really starts to get nice, we usually see an uptick in calls for service, so.
Community outreach up at the school.
Yeah, I believe a lot of those are Chief Sullivan goes up and talks to, I'm assuming students or teachers at the school. Most of those are usually done during the day by him.
The other forms of community outreach.
Right now, that's mostly what's going on for community outreach, once the weather warms up, some like outdoor activities that are put on within the village and town will attend those, but usually the school sends students down to the municipal complex to kind of walk through and see what goes on there, so we do community outreach with students there too.
Vehicle accidents, weather related mostly.
A little bit of both, I think a couple of them were illegal vehicle crashes, some of that is weather related, some of those driving related as well.
Yeah, that's true, the one on Woods Hill was just driving really.
Yeah, driving there, and I think I had one, it may be this crash or it might have been one in January. Somebody not familiar with the area stopped at the Woods Hill stop sign, was getting ready to cross over and go down Woods Hill towards Route 7. Wasn't familiar with the area, thought it was a 4-way stop, kind of coming up 207. And he just pulled out thinking that car was gonna stop and they didn't because they had the right way, and yeah, so quite a few crashes, noticed the Woods Hill Road, especially where it intersects with 207, a pretty popular spot for crashes, so. A lot of that is people you can't see depending on which way you're coming from Woods Hill, cars are coming from the Highgate side of 207, it's kind of difficult to see people pull out, not realizing they don't have enough time. But yeah.
Yeah, when you do pull out, you gotta gain speed.
You do, yeah, you kind of have to cross that intersection fairly quickly, I don't know if there is a fix for that, it's just kind of what it is, it's kind of the same pulling off of Beans Road onto 105 or Shelton Road. You kind of have a blind spot, cars coming from the east, so kind of have to get out in the traffic fairly quick. And then we have a fair share of weather related crashes as well, people not driving for condition.
Got 4-wheel drive, I can go.
It's not 4-wheel stop though, that's the problem.
Any other questions for Chief or comment? Or no? Continue with the Chief's rep.
That's it, right?
Well, certainly appreciate you coming tonight in his stead and especially if it's a day off, not that you probably had a choice.
Yeah, no, I didn't, that's all right.
Yeah, how are you guys handling, I gotta ask one question.
Sure.
The whole staff in right now, and you did say we have someone at the.
We do, so
That's good
we
news.
just last month had an officer step down from full-time to part-time. So we have 2 full-time openings right now that we're actively trying to fill, but it's a difficult market to try to fill. Everybody's struggling, so it's finding somebody who's good at the job. And ideally, you'd want to find somebody who's already certified. Then you can just get them through like a quick in-house NTO process and get them out to the road. Hiring somebody who's brand new is a long process, getting through the academy, then FTO. So we're trying to fill those 2 spots, they're still open, but we did just hire a new part-time employee, she was full-time certified in Massachusetts. Started a family, came up to New York, so she wants to start part-time and hopefully in the future, once her children are grown, she wants to hopefully come on full-time. And we also have another person who works full-time in law enforcement outside of Swanton that wants to work part-time for us, so he's in the process as well. So hopefully that'll help us cover some shifts. February we had an officer on vacation, I think, for the whole month, just between people taking vacation, so. Already being down and then trying to fill vacations is very difficult, but we make it work because it's important for people to take time off. So help with burnout.
Very good.
Aside from that, we'll keep trucking along like we always do.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you guys have a great night.
Thank you. Animal control is in the package. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, product, the shelter for donate, that's one grand out. That's the shelter grant. And then, nobody claimed the dog.
Correct.
So we had to pay
We paid half. Yeah, it was $400. The dog was, it being fostered. So it's taken out of the shelter with
Yeah.
a foster parents. And the dog is not in good health, so I'm not sure what the. Yeah, they're trying to bring it back to health, and it's a pretty major issue.
anything else? Moving on to the health officer report. Straightforward, but that one is a pretty nagging issue on Fire Street.
To my knowledge, when I drove by, there wasn't an issue today.
We have an enforcement officer yet.
The health officer?
No, I realize that for zoning and things like that. But if we don't get a complaint, then we still got some pretty bad places. Around the village, I don't know if they could be enforced if there was a zoning issue or whatever.
There's no position right now, if there's a zoning complaint and. Zoning officer goes out there, but as far as, there was some discussion and that was part of what they were, making some changes to try to. Make it more enforceable, the bylaws and things, but. There hasn't been any, because that'd be through us, that would be
Hey, Dan,
to the select-board for
So,
anything else? All right, we'll move on to item number 4, the presentation by the Friends of Northern Lake Champlain. Swanton Beach stormwater, which is on page 9 of our package. Good evening.
Hey,
Everyone, go ahead and introduce yourselves here.
Yeah, I'm Josh Serpy, I'm project manager with Friends of Northern Lake Champlain.
and I'm Bridget Butler, I'm the executive director for Friends of Northern Lake Champlain.
And I'm the one on Zoom, so I do the presentation, yeah.
You're gonna teach us how to be in 2 places at one time.
Can you have a reading of this presentation? It's the one that.
There was one about some cleanup and some money for doing a study there. This is an actual project, I believe, and it's taking place.
Stormwater.
Right.
Stormwater project, correct.
I think if you X out of that and then and stop sharing your screen. And then set up the presentation. Let's try that. And then when you hit escape share screen. Just do all the slides. Yeah.
Interesting. Here's what you call slides.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually. Oh.
Yeah. And now you got kicked out.
Should we do it on a laptop version?
I don't know what but I mean, do you have that? Can you email me that?
Well, I'm not doing it from my computer.
No. Don't know where.
Number capital B. IRD. 1760.
Appreciate everybody's patience.
No problem.
I'll just share while Josh is getting things locked in. Josh and I are both new to the organization. So I came on about 1.5 years ago. FNLC has been run for the past 6 years by an all-volunteer board with some part-time staff. And then Josh came on about 6 months ago. He's full-time as well, so this is the first time in quite some time that FNLC has had full-time staff dedicated to the mission and the work that we're doing. We're very excited to have a full-time project manager as we take on more projects like the one that Josh is going to review with you all tonight. And I do believe someone has come and talked to you all about this project before because it's been in the works for a couple of years now. Yeah. Ken
Oh, so
has
that
come.
would be what
There you
you're
go.
talking about.
Yep. Yes, oh
Yay.
my gosh, you did it this time.
Technology.
Great,
Do you want to talk more about FNLC and what we do?
yeah, do you wanna go back to the mission
Yeah, sure,
slide?
of course.
So as some of you may know, FNLC has been around for about 20 years. We're a nonprofit organization and our focus is on keeping phosphorus on the land and out of the lake. And another big part of our focus is non-regulatory projects, which means all the projects that we're looking at are not enforcement based and they're volunteer based. So we work with landowners and farmers and municipalities like yourselves, looking for water quality projects that don't fall under regulatory guidelines. And again, the whole focus is on keeping phosphorus out of the lake and on the land. There's 3 ways that we do this. There we go, and they kind of all work together and overlap with each other. The project that we're bringing to you tonight is a water quality project, so these are conservation-based projects that are that have a construction element to them where we find issues on the land. It might be erosion, it might be stormwater. It could be eroding gullies or eroding stream banks. And we put the funding together along with the different engineering consultants in order to come up with a design that we then present to the landowner or the town in order to address the concern of that area. We back this up with our monitoring of water quality in different areas. So we monitor a couple of streams in the region, which include small tributaries along the Rock River, Mokwam Shore. We have a site there that we just finished up collecting data on that we're waiting for verification of that data right now. And then another one down along Mill River. And overlaying all of this is the ability to interpret these types of projects and the work that needs to be done in the region to keep phosphorus on the land. So as we go into different communities, we look to partner with folks to do community outreach and engage folks in the conversation around what we can do on a voluntary basis to help decrease the amount of phosphorus going into the lake. Josh and I both can be reached by our first initial and last name, and then the incredibly long email address, friendsofnorthernlakechamplain.org. So if you ever want to reach out to us, that's how you can get in touch with us. The next couple slides are about the project. So I'm gonna turn it over to Josh. Actually, does anybody have any questions?
We're on McQuam, you sample?
So it is Sucker Brook,
Yes,
I believe
okay.
is the name.
Yeah, a lot of Sucker Brook is out on top of the ice right now.
Yes.
All that
I
flow.
can imagine. We will, yes. And like I said, that data is still waiting to be verified by the state. And we know that Kent and our predecessors have been working with you on that data, so we'll be reaching out to you as soon as that's verified and we can bring it to you all.
Thank you. Where's the majority of your funding come from?
Yeah, the majority of our funding, let's see, I just did all these calculations due to the kind of turmoil with the federal government right now. 25%, 20 to 25% of our funding does come from federal funding, which has become very challenging.
It go directly to you or you?
No, it doesn't.
Champlain Basin?
So it goes, yeah, so what's challenging about that relationship, so Lake Champlain Basin Program handles a lot of the federal money that comes into the state for the lake. But it also, before it comes to them, it goes through another entity called the New England Interstate New England Interstate Pollution Water Control Commission, NUEPIC. And so they have to release the money to LCBP and then LCBP releases the money to us. All of that federal money is reimbursement based, which means we have to do the work first. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind as Josh talks to you about this project that we're working on with you all, because it is funded through LCBP, is that it's all reimbursement based. So we have to do the work first, invoice for it, and then NUEPIC invoices the federal government for it. And so it becomes really tricky right now with the way that the government is working and choosing to kind of change things up on a daily basis to understand whether or not there's a high risk for a project being paid in a timely manner or at all. Or if there's a low risk. And right now we're working very hard to kind of negotiate different things with NUEPIC in order to make that process a little bit simpler and decrease the risk for not only organizations like us, but also the people that we contract with to do the work.
So there'll be no liability in the town if you get
No.
paid by the federal government.
No. And the rest of our funding comes from state foundations and donors. Yeah.
No town contributes to resident or like Champlain.
You sure do, and we appreciate that appropriation every year. It helps us kind of continue some of that monitoring work as well.
And also beyond that, really, provides us the opportunity to come and speak to you all, because I've been here for 6 months, Bridget for 18. We want to be able to make this a regular thing. We want to get to know the towns that we're partnering with. We want to get to know the individuals, and we want to be able to come in here as a place of friends and be able to have a conversation on an ongoing basis about these projects and really be able to keep everybody up to date from the beginning of a project, rather than us adopting a project and having to speak on it towards the end of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm here to talk about the water quality projects, which is what I focus on for FNLC. And it's gonna take a moment. So yeah, we call it the Swanton Beach Clean Water Project, but there is 2 segments of the project. One is Maquam Beach and the other is the town right away. That is at the corner of Lanier Road? Lanier Road. Okay, I got that wrong when I was talking about the village, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there with the pronunciation. So it's at the corner of Lanier Road and Maquam Road. And essentially what this is a stormwater project. So we're looking to treat the stormwater. I know it's very hard to see, but on the photo on the right, there's gonna be a blue line that is gonna be surrounding part of the road and part of the developed land. And what we're looking to do is treat part of the stormwater. And forgive me if you are up to date on this project. I'm treating it as a new coming in here that nobody knows anything, and it also helps for me to be able to get more familiar with. So the Maquam and Lanier project is the town, the beach is the village. We went to the beach last week to discuss the operation and maintenance plan, and now we're here discussing it with the town, which we're more than happy to do so. Move this out of the way, and as you can see here in the 2 photos with the nice green landscapes which we're striving for these days, you're going to see where the project is going to take place, and that is going to be the right of way. And what's going to be going in there is it's a sand filter. And what we're really trying to do is to retain and filter that stormwater that is coming off that developed land that I showed you earlier. And what that is really trying to do is alleviate some of the flooding that was going on around that road that was really impacting that culvert. And we're looking to hold the water so that it's going to infiltrate into the land. And it's called a roadside sand filter. What it's gonna be is a grassy swale. It's gonna be not necessarily a rain garden, what we're going to be doing down at the beach, but it's just gonna be a vegetated area to where the water is able to get into the ground. And that being said, you know, throughout this entire process, not only making connections with the town and all of the partners that you can see down at the bottom of the screen, but we're really gonna be looking to, you know, get in contact with that landowner, understand who they are, because we're doing a project in the town right away, but we want to be good neighbors. These are voluntary projects. The town has agreed to move forward with this, but we want to keep the town informed. We want to keep the community engaged in what we're doing, especially because we view this project on the McQuam Beach sector as a really educational opportunity. So just to talk that about a bit, I don't know how much the village and the town talks about projects like these, but we're going to have an educational component. So there is going to be some signage that is going to be down at the beach so that the community really understands how we treat stormwater and how it affects the beach and how it affects the way the community engages with Lake Champlain, especially up in this region. And I'll pause if there's any questions before I go to the next.
Well, just, I don't know, question or a comment, I mean, there's certainly got some residents very concerned about water quality and all for. But I don't know how well educated the people that live there are of the things that they can do.
Yeah, and so that community outreach approach, right, that layer of the work, a couple of years ago, we did a shoreline social in the town and welcomed residents to come and learn about some of the things that they can do. That's our intention, is to hold another one, probably not this year, we're gonna be in North Carolina and Georgia this year. Next year, we'll do that. With this project, we wanna hold a community gathering at the end of this project to kind of introduce people to why things look different, why the parking lot was regraded, why there are rain gardens, all of that. But you can expect us to come back and hold some additional public programs that'll engage folks in some of the free services that we offer, including Streamwise and Lakewise, which are assessments for property owners at no charge.
Do you do like things like canvassing of postcards and stuff like that?
Yes, yep. So with our Streamwise campaign, when we shift into the focus on Swanton, we do a door hanger, we have postcards, we identify the landowners that are most likely to want to engage in those services, and we do direct mailings to them.
And again, these are all voluntary projects. So we're looking for willing municipalities, we're looking for willing landowners, but we're also looking to like leverage those willing municipalities, those willing communities, those willing landowners to really start to chip away at maybe the individuals that don't understand how the science is communicated. You know, we aggregate all of this data, but sometimes it's hard to digest. Even us as working professionals, it's very sciencey, so we really try to weed through that and just chip away at the block in any way we can, and a lot of that is through Bridges community.
Unfortunately, science doesn't really mean much anymore. Good luck.
And we get that a lot, and you know, we're happy to engage with it.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, being that this project was born out of the Swanton High Beach Shoreline Assessment. And we don't want these assessments to just come to fruition and just fade away. We want to be able to take them as tools and leverage them for us in the future, and this is one of the projects that came out of that assessment. So if we can use an educational opportunity to drive it home, we're not in the business of making projects happen overnight. We're taking a long-term approach, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. It's about the legacy that Friends wants to live on the community and how we can really have an impact on the next generation that's coming up. So why we're all here today?
The main reason.
Well, this is so much fun because like we get to sit here and we get to engage with members of the community who we hope to have a long-standing relationship with. So it's always nice to have that introduction. But while we're really here, as I'm sure Brian has informed the select board about, is we're coming for an operation and maintenance agreement. And basically what this is it's inspection. It's going to be monitoring that sand filter to ensure that the sediment doesn't build up, to ensure people aren't throwing trash in it. Again, it's it's something new that we're navigating is how to really communicate these operation and maintenance plan. And ideally, this is a conversation I would be having with you all before we even go into the design of the project to make sure the town is engaged with it. And I'm sure if we're at this point where we're going towards implementation, there has been some buy-in. But me being here for 6 months, I'm just trying to like sit here and understand where the town is at, where the select board is at with the operation and maintenance plan. And this is what we're looking to have signed. Brian, have you taken a look at it and handed it out to everybody?
I haven't handed it.
Well,
It's in our
I
package.
think you're happy,
Great.
oh, fantastic. So I'm happy to answer any questions on it, and then we'll talk about the project next steps.
Well, initially, when this was first discussed, it wasn't me. Over the involvement by the town, but I don't want to put that if you're maintaining agreements that you're interested in. Have you done these type of projects before? Sand filters, similar to this.
I cannot speak on the operation and maintenance of past projects.
I believe we do have some projects that have had sand filters before. I'd have to look at what those are, and we've worked with this consultant before. In terms of having them as part of designs that we look at in other cases.
And I'm happy to, I guess I could jump ahead to actually show what the operation maintenance looks like. And a lot of what this is, everybody, is this is boilerplate language for when these projects are designed, because we're trying to reduce phosphorus, and part of that is you attach a design length to a project. So when we're applying for the grant, they're gonna say, this project's design life is 15 years, and over that 15 years, it's going to store 1.5 kilograms of phosphorus per year. And that is essentially so they can attach a number to the lifespan of the project, and along with that, to justify that number and the design life, they have to attach an operation and maintenance plan to it. It could be as simple as going out and inspecting it once a year, once every other year, clearing it for trash, clearing it for sediment.
Who does that?
So this is by Watershed Consulting Associates. It's our engineering consultant that we hired to do the final design of the project.
I mean, I'm looking at page 9, the page that was on, and it says annual inspections, there's 3 bullets, who does it?
So it was my understanding coming onto this project that the town was up to speed on what was going on with the project, and that the reason why we're at this point is because the town had, during the design phase and in conversations with our board chair, Ken, has come to the agreement that they would take on the inspection as part of the project.
I've been on the board for just over a year. I have seen no design, no discussion.
This is our first back.
Yeah.
Like 2 years.
It's like
Yeah, go
2
ahead.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I just stayed in for at least the last 14 months, no one has come before, I remember sitting in. The crowd, and when I think they came and they were taking a look and doing the survey that you talked about. But as far as the design, I don't know. You were chair prior, everybody saw it.
No, I wasn't even chair when they first wrote this.
We might have seen a little something on the design and have a discussion, I guess, my question is. Are we gonna have to dispatch somebody from the town to go down there and do these inspections?
according to the operation and maintenance plan, yes, that's what,
Can we read that?
No,
No, okay, thank you.
nothing, that wasn't really even discussed. The design was discussed for the filters.
Okay, designs were
Right.
discussed.
There was no talk about maintaining it at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mean to confuse everybody. I don't mean to like assume that this was talked about. I'm coming from a place of, I've been here for 6 months and we're trying to make these inroads. In a perfect world, we would have been having this conversation in 2022, 2023, when the
Right.
project was
Cause
started.
typically when you start a project, there's the discussion about operations and maintenance as you're moving through the design phase. So it sounds like you folks who feel like that did not
I
happen.
don't remember.
No.
Okay.
A lot of things I don't remember, but I don't remember.
Okay, and so
I could have question, but you can finish.
yeah, so I think then at this point, what it sounds like we might need to do is back up and go back to the design. Really explain, right, and this one is different than when we work in the other basin. Correct, the way the maintenance agreements work, from what I understand. And so with some, and this is because the funding is different, which is I'm like running through my head and thinking of the different projects that we have O and Ms for right now. So this one is different because this is funded differently. So we do have to come to an agreement about which party, whether it's the town. Or another entity, the conservation district, the planning commission, or the regional planning commission, or somebody like Friends who would then help support, do the maintenance piece. So it sounds like reviewing the design might be good. And then also being very specific about what the maintenance tasks are so that you can see what they are. And then identifying who's best to serve that role. Are there pieces that might also be helpful in making a decision about operations and maintenance? Because we can't move forward with the next stage of the process until we have an agreement signed yet.
Nick, you had something?
Yeah, once it's built, we're assuming responsibility for the maintenance. It's basically, once we have it, it's done. And then in 15 years' time, when it needs to be replaced, that's basically up to us as well.
Yeah, the design it's again, it's boilerplate for when we're doing that phosphorus calculation, so we can give it to our funder and display a number. Doesn't necessarily mean that the project's going to need to get replaced after 15 years, but that's the number that they give for the pollution reduction timeline. And this is great too, because we're looking to see where we can fill in the gaps as an organization and how we can be more thoughtful in our outreach to the town and understand that how can we have conversations like this so that we don't get to the point of implementation and the town's like, wait, we never heard about this. I've been here for 12 months and this is the first time I'm seeing this. We want to get out in front of this.
I've got a couple of questions, but go ahead. So, taking a look at what you got listed for the maintenance, fairly straightforward. But I wanna jump over to your equipment, you're not gonna clean the ditch with a road grader, I think that goes with the beach, maybe reshaping the beach. As far as the maintenance, but. There's one thing to just go in and remove sediment when you get 6 inches, I'm assuming it's probably rock lined or something. So you're just peeling the sand off the rock line. I can't quite tell from this drawing exactly what it's called a sand filter. I don't know if there's some layer of stone to slow the flow down. Just peeling 6 inches off of the backhoe is not real arduous, but. When you talk about if the water ponds for more than 24 hours. Check the system for clog and flush is necessary, what is that? That taking a fire hose out there and doing something, I don't know. That's not real clear in looking at that, and then. If all the sand is clogged. One of the only things I think you're gonna be able to do is to remove it and replace it. And that's not something I think would be a big interest in doing, again. To just go out and remove some sediment, that's one thing. And then I look at this, and again, it's hard on this scale of a picture, is you've got some type of. Overflow and that sort of thing, and how do we see that working in the winter time frame? Because I see when we have our runoff down there, the water is flowing pretty quick along the lake road. And don't know, how that's gonna work as far as the winter and backing up and one of the questions I was gonna have, and you already mentioned it, is being, getting to know the property owner and stuff, is what we don't wanna do is put a lot of water and a mess on their property. And that's something we wanna talk with your design folks about. The whole winter conditions, it's a whole different world for a few weeks here as things thaw out and the water starts moving quickly, and the debris that comes with it.
Yeah, that whole area for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I go back to what I said previously is. You have, is there one we can look at? Is there any?
Is there
experience with
an example that you can look at
And,
locally?
how many yards of sand is gonna be involved in here in case it ever has to be replaced that is clogged? I would think that, I would assume once we agree to the maintenance thing, that we would be responsible for all materials necessary. I'm just assuming that.
My recommendation is we just remove the excessive sand and clog and be replaced.
Yeah.
That's not our.
Yeah, another issue that comes up here is. I'm reading it here, if the the beach is owned by the village.
Hmm.
And where you're talking is the town, of course. So it mentioned in here, if something is going on in the parking lot, it would have to be regraded. We can't commit for the village.
So the village has already signed on to the operation and maintenance for the forum.
So
Oh, yeah, so that, basically that drawing really goes with, it's part of the village
As the
package.
village,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
These two together are the project, but there's two entities.
And we had to get, O and M's for, separately.
Is there a particular contractor that you use to build these things and do they, what's their experience like?
So this is the preliminary step after we have these side O&M agreements and we're navigating the federal funding. Our next step is to go into contractor selection.
Okay.
I know that doesn't particularly answer your question, and again, I wish I could answer that more specifically with specific contractors. I'm not aware of any at this point.
Okay,
And the village has agreed to assume these groups that are listed in there.
And theirs I see as an easier, it's kind of like the rain garden out here. You know, it's the runoff from the parking lot going over into a drain and trying to get it into the ground versus into the lake directly and assuming what's going on there. As opposed to we've got, you know, more flow and movement that's gonna take place in a more constrained area, but.
Brings up an interesting question, how many acres of runoff are going to go through that thing?
Ooh, that's a great question. Not have the number off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
It's probably in the 100% design for it.
From my perspective, appreciate all that you're trying to do. The one frustration we'll let out here is Sucker Brook. And the size of tension bond, some type of filter
Mhm.
would be needed,
Mhm.
because what we're gonna save here going into the northern end of McQuam and what just went out in a 2-day period is just a huge difference.
Sure.
And we know exactly where all that stuff came from.
Right. And our service is to deliver you the data once it becomes
Right.
verified, and then because it's likely that those will be regulatory in nature.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Then we step back out of the picture.
Oh, I know, and that's why I said I'm just airing a
Yeah.
frustration.
And so,
And for anybody who's watching on the camera
Yeah.
and sees what's going on. There's already regulations that are supposed to help control that,
correct,
and they aren't doing the job.
and they're not doing the job, yes,
And-
we hear you,
So, yeah,
yes.
and where does that stuff go when we have the southwesterly wind right up into the bay and it's still in that area anyway? But I
We
wanna work with you on
Yes.
trying to answer some of this and see if we can move forward.
yes, we hear you.
Now, if I understand it correctly, you've been water sampling Sucker Brook,
Correct.
okay, so you.
We finished our third year of sampling in 2024. And all the data has been submitted to the state. And what we have to do is wait for the state to verify it before we can release it.
Even the earlier data, they still holding on to the previous.
No, I
years or-
believe the previous years have been verified and they're available to the public online
Through you.
through the website, through the state website. But the summer, like a summary, we won't have a summary until we have that 2024 data that we can then bring to you with all of the years of data together.
So I think we got some questions and probably set up another meeting, and if you find a location, then
Yeah.
a couple of us. Sure.
Great.
Go take a look.
And the other thing that we can do the next time we come back with the O and M is bring one of the designers, because then they'll be able to answer some of the more technical questions that you and I aren't as experienced with.
And at the price you pay your designers, if they want to zoom in or something, we could.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that.
Without the travel time,
Got
etc. If you're on limited budget and.
Yeah, so let's talk about like next steps, like who would be the primary point of contact for setting up that meeting, Brian, would it be you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Fantastic, and you'd wanna see the design, talk to our consultant?
Yeah, well, we'd like them to, send us an outline of what they wanna request to the board.
Okay.
And it was, the date on the agenda, and if they can send the stuff ahead of time, so I can get it to them.
And if they got a similar project, we'll try to see that before, but that way we can ask the question.
Yeah, that's great.
Really good point.
Yeah, and hey, I really appreciate this process because this is such a learning experience for both Bridget and I, just like how to navigate one, adopting projects and moving them forward, and then how we want to model our future projects. When we start to take projects on it, we start to interact with select boards and really getting out in front of these questions. So that when it comes time to have an O&M plan, everybody's up to date and we can move forward in steadfastly.
I heard about this project, I just want to say something. All I heard about was beach, I know the beach is building property. Maybe the presentation was done prior, was for my time here.
It was February 7th, 2023.
Yeah, okay, that was the last we heard.
The actual design was presented then?
No, it was top of the grass, the sand filter.
Yeah.
Control runoff, the village beach was a separate project. You know, I understood that.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna try to do this to control some of the water that also comes in.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's not total, but we didn't have any maintenance agreement or anything like that.
Right,
Presented to us.
okay,
Because there's no design at that time.
Yeah, and up until we had to get this operation and maintenance agreement signed, I thought that Swanton was just Swanton. So
We have plenty of residents who still.
Yeah.
That's all good, but I guess one other question to take back is the south side of the road. Now, I know it shows the flow outside of our right of way,
mhm,
but there is significant flow and it looks like it goes under just after the project. But
a member of the village board brought that up too, so we marked that on a map. For a question for the designers.
Actually, there's 6 more, I brought Kent and some other person down, there's 6 from the beach down. Oh, from the, 500 acres out there,
Mhm.
flow under the road, right into the road, right now it's like a couple of Niagara Falls out there.
So tell me, can you say that again, where it flows from and to?
The state owns all that land across the road.
Yes, right, the wetland management area.
And the water comes out of there, right through these big culverts under the road and it shoots right into the lake. There's one not too far where we live, I think there's 6 of them. On that road.
And to that point, the way these projects work is, it's typically not one grant to where you're gonna take a project from beginning to end. So you have like project development, which is identifying projects, talking with landowners, talking with municipalities and finding those projects. And then you have separate grants for design. And then you have a separate grant for implementation. So these projects can end up being 3, maybe 4 stages to bring one that's identified up until the end. And Bridget and I don't know how much we want to speak on this, but we really envision being here for the long term and being able to engage with our towns in the project development, in the project identification. So if concerned landowners come, if you all identify projects, we're happy to take that call, we're happy to have that conversation.
One of those shoots out probably from here to Catherine, it shoots right out like a enormous hose.
Mm.
And the lake, I took Kent and this other lady down a couple of years ago, that's not the only one.
So it's possible that some of these have been identified in the Swanton
Yeah.
shoreline assessment that was done. I think that's probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
And so those would be then worked on separately, right? And so this is just one that was one of the lowest hanging fruit when the designers did the shoreline assessment. They typically rank all of the projects and it can be 50, 100 or more projects on the shoreline. And then they rank the ones that are the highest and then they rank them again based on how much phosphorus they're gonna pull. And so then what you do is you take the top 3, those are the ones that you typically can find funding for really quickly. And they're just easy to kind of fast track to implementation. what Josh and I are doing now with all of the past shoreline assessments that have been done for towns by FNLC is going back through them to look at everything that is like number 4 all the way up to 100 that has been identified. So some of these things that you're talking about, like the other side of the road may not be addressed in this project because it would be its own separate project.
These come from the other side of the road, onto the road, right into the lake.
Yep, and so
Yeah, you're talking further down from this, after you turn it
Yeah, not too far.
parallel lake, right, yeah.
yeah, so that may be that may be a separate project. It sounds like it would be a separate project.
All right, thank you.
But we have a, like that, if you would like me to send the shoreline assessment that we did a few years ago again to the select board. So you can re-familiarize yourself with all of those projects on there, that might help you see the scope of what's possible for the town, including Mapquam, right, the Sucker Brook piece, right? This is something that we hear a lot from folks. We've talked to some landowners that came to another workshop recently from the Mapquam Shore area. And I think what's hard for people to understand, there's always one other project that somebody has in their mind that there's like, this is nice, but what about this? Right, we can only do one at a time and they're scoped in a certain way so that we can do that work and find the funding for them one at a time. But the good thing is we have a whole bunch of those identified for your town.
And I would encourage, you've got a few minutes of light, is to drive.
Drive down. Yeah.
Cause if they're just pulling water out of the stream. While we still have ice, it's just to take a look, cause you're talking at least a couple 100 feet out.
You're talking about the Sucker Brook site?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, just, I know again, that's covered under other regulatory, but just from an awareness
Yeah.
of the magnitude, cause right now it's visual,
yes,
very visual.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions, folks? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
came
much.
back with, a fair amount of.
Yeah, of course.
Got all your questions, and so we'll work toward those and bring our consultants in on the next conversation to help answer those questions that you
How about that relationship?
It is, right, and I appreciate you all for sticking with us in this, because one of the biggest things I think that FNLC recognized is that they needed more consistency in the organization, which is why they looked to hire full-time staff, pull an executive director on, put in a full-time project manager, because these relationships are important when you have projects that are at least 3 years in nature, at least 3 years. So we're hoping to do that consistency for you all moving forward.
I look forward to hearing back from you, because water quality is basically for this community. There's a lot of citizens that are concerned about it.
Super.
That's right.
I mean, we're kind of limited in what we can afford to do as a town, but, you know. these
And that's
kind of-
why we're here as the nonprofit, because we can leverage those nonprofit dollars to do that with you.
All right,
We're here filling the gaps.
Thanks,
The state clean water. Fund
Thank you,
is
everybody.
Set up and ready to disperse the money. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now I will entertain a motion to recess the regular select board meeting and we'll meet with the control board.
I will make the motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded, any further discussion? Here none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. So moved. We're now in the liquor control board. So we have in our package on page 29, it was also emailed to us. Actually, page 30 is where they're listed out, 731. Only one new one. That's a store that's going right in the places where the laundromat is, correct?
Yes,
Will the laundromat remain?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. And it's like just for the sale of tobacco, not for any liquor products.
Correct.
Could somebody help clear up with me first, second, third class?
Yep, so basically your second class is where you sell, like the liquor store sells beer, wine and other spirits. Like Caitlin's Creations, they sell beer, wine. And then a third class is when you actually serve,
Okay.
like at the restaurants, they serve the drinks versus just selling the drinks.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chair, the applicants for the.
Anybody new
new site,
alcohol licenses here?
with us, and Gary Watson.
Hello?
I explained to them that I'm personally an applicant. So they were-
Okay. Board, any questions?
You're going in American Soul
Yes.
on the end. Then you start building. Are you gonna clean the window?
All of them.
Tell us a little bit about your business.
It's a smoking vape shop, so smoking accessories. And then vapes. Tobacco vapes.
Want to be one fell swoop, Mr. Chair?
Unless we have a. One that we think we good to talk about or do separately, I think we just. Move them all as a group.
That I would make a recommendation, make a motion that we approve all of these that are on this list.
Well, second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Here are none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. All right, we'll be signing those tonight, right?
Well, I just need the approval on the minutes, and I approve them tomorrow when I go online.
Okay, all right. Just have the record.
Thank you for opening the business. I appreciate it.
Last question, when do you hope to open by?
Soon as possible. I don't really know. we haven't done any work there because we didn't know if we were gonna get approved. So we've just been holding off.
There has to be a permit, so the permit application has been received and whatnot, we'll contact you, then Sandy, the assistant, will give you a call on Thursday.
And tell us if we did get approved for the tobacco
Right,
license.
just.
No, you're
well,
approved for the
you're
tobacco,
approved-
that's
you're
done
approved for
now.
tobacco
This is
license,
for
and
your conditional use for
Conditional
this,
use for the store.
So that'll have to go before the
Not necessarily,
conditional use,
not. It's been already, there's already business there,
okay?
but we'll confirm that. It will be in touch with you.
Awesome.
Are you gonna have a sign?
Like outside, like where the
Right.
laundromat one is. Do I need to apply for that?
There's a separate sign firm.
Okay, that is not on the agenda, but once we do need a sign and want a sign, we would fill out.
Okay.
Brian, if he puts a sign in his window, does that still have to get approved?
Just
I don't know, I'm just asking.
I don't know.
There's attached to the building and there's freestanding.
Yeah.
I think it does, I have to read that section thoroughly, but I believe so. If that would be considered attached to the building.
So. To even have an open sign in my window, I would need approval,
I mean, open, like it just says open.
a sign that says open or a sign that says anything.
Nobody has.
Nobody has the permit on them, so.
Or if you wanted to put the name of your business in the window, then you'd have to,
Maybe that.
or outside.
We're okay with getting in there and getting everything
Get started.
started?
But we'll, that further information we're going Thursday, but Sandy left today before I had a chance to talk to her, and I noticed on the note that it's. But I didn't confirm to us Thursday. Give you a call Thursday.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Okay, take a motion to adjourn the liquor control board and we enter the regular select board meeting. Second. Made second, any discussion, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Moving on to expenditures, start with general orders. The dates are February 19th, 2025 to March 18th, 2025, so you don't need to repeat all those. General orders for $113,009.55 and 42 cents on the motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
There, second,
Second,
motion been made and seconded, give people a minute, I know Kathy sent these out, thank you very much, Kathy, for getting those out to us.
And that one, like,
You know, that's all you want.
get on, this is where refuge, that's 2 months payment.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Here or none? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Highway orders in the amount of 14,138.82.
I make a motion to do the highway orders in the amount of 14,138.
There a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Here none, all in favor state aye. Opposed, so moved, special fund for $877.50.
I'll make the motion to accept the special orders, the amount of $877.50.
All second. Motion's been made and seconded, any further discussion? Here none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved, library amount of $2,885.64.
I'll make a motion to approve the library orders of $2,885.64.
Here second,
Second,
motion been made and seconded,
I just have a question, is that a deposit for the handyman service? Cause when I spoke to Abby, she said they hadn't done.
That's the ice.
That's the ice.
buildup on the road.
and then they yeah, we got we talked about that. So yeah, that's what that's about. Any further discussion? Here or none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, so moved. Highway and general pay orders, $1,570.53 in checks. $40,013.40 in direct deposit.
I'll make a motion to approve the highway and general payroll orders. Totaling $41,585.93.
There's a second,
I'll second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? No, we had some snowstorms. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Alright,
Opposed, so moved. Library payroll in the amount of $9,742.42. Entertain a motion to approve.
motion to approve the library payroll for $9,742.42.
There a second?
Second,
Motion been made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved, and special order showed up here, but the. Yeah, we're good. The minutes and the order just comments there, highway department, monthly report. Try to make it quick, but fair amount going on, because we're getting to that season. Think something that way. And one over there, you don't have enough, but one, no, that's my talking. Okay, 2025 paving, Kevin and I rode the roads a couple days ago. Right now, looking to do. Sweet Hollow Road, 7/10 of it. Comstock, the whole thing. Ann's Road a little bit on the east, right where it abuts Route 105, and then about a half mile down a Bushy Road. Cook Road, Short Road, quarter of a mile. Donaldson Road doing just part of it, and Rustic Walk's a very short road for about 2/10 of a mile. You add all that up, that adds up to just about what we've got budgeted for paving. Which is the big paving, it's separate from the town garage and Swanton Hill Road. In the town garage lot, we put that under garage maintenance, and Swanton Hill Road. Like to combine those two and do them like in the September timeframe, after we've got Swanton Hill completed and people are driving on it. And then We are going for a grant, so we don't know if we're gonna get a grant yet for county and McQuam Shore roads. County road would be about two-thirds of a mile closer to the St. Albans line. And McQuam Shore, same thing, and it'd be part of McQuam Shore down closer to the St. Albans line. Those two projects, again, for about $170,000, I gotta give it Brian and get the paperwork done. And submit that in April for a possible grant. So that's what we would like to do, we will, if you're all right, we will put together the contract paperwork. And submit that at the next meeting, then basically that'll go out the beginning of April, a couple weeks later, open up the bids. And award that project, so that once the weather breaks and frost is out of the ground and get the paving going. Berry Road culvert, we talked about doing that as a grant, the grant we would request would be design. East Engineering recommended I meet with Chris Brunel, he's from the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation. And he has to do with the waterways, so we're gonna meet tomorrow. Up at Berry Road where the culvert is, if everybody wants to join, one select board member, if it's more than one, we can warn it, but it's 10:30 meeting up there. Basically, he wants to take a look at it, and he said if he's good with it, he would give us a permit from his end, so that could actually be written right into the grant. And we would just ask East Engineering for an estimate of the design work. We put that in the grant request. Swanton Hill Road's talked about it before, but we actually got a draft of the construction easements. We're sending off to Brian Monahan now. To review. Brooklyn Street culvert. Final plan has been completed, East Engineering is working with the Vermont DEC on the wetland permit, it's a shorter version of the wetland permit. So we should get that and soon. He's already submitted the draft and they're talking with them. Got a couple easements we need to do, but those shouldn't take very long. We'd like permission to sell the 2012 International truck, basically work with Brian to put out an advertisement for it. It's not our oldest dump truck, plow truck. But it's the one that since it was purchased has had an issue with emissions 4,000 or 5,000 a year. We use it very much to work on the emissions. The dump body's in pretty rough shape. There is an older 2009 Volvo that we're using now as a spare. The dump body was replaced on that, that's in very good shape. Does have 112,000 miles, but it's a much better vehicle from the operator's standpoint, and I agree with them, because I remember all the problems with the 2012. So if you folks are good with it, we would advertise and see what we can get for that. 2012 product.
When do you,
Talk about.
when do you anticipate, I'm sorry,
Carl's good with it.
What?
I know, I just wanted to make sure you're all done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
When do we anticipate another big truck like we just purchased?
Haven't really put any brain bites into that yet, but I'm assuming 3 years or so. It may be more, we gotta take a look and see how we're building. Cause the next line item is something to take out of that account possibly. The 3/4 ton truck. Has 260,000 plus miles on it. Starting to use oil. And the frame is starting to get tender. What we're gonna do, and all we're looking there is to get a 4-wheel drive basic work pickup. And put the existing body, which is fiberglass, onto it. So what we'll do is just see approximately what one would cost and bring that into the board and decide whether we go out and get 3 bids and move ahead with it. But we just wanted to plan to see. We could run this until it drops, unfortunately, we don't really want to lose it in the middle of the winter, we not have a replacement, but just want to start that.
Single cab,
Yes,
just 2 doors.
yes. That's what it is now. We have the other little dump truck with the crew cab so that. A large number of people can go one of them.
They need, everybody, they take that.
It would take that versus we kicked around the crew cab a bit, but.
Oh, well, if you already got one, I
Right.
can see that just makes that somebody might have to run for a part or something, that's what they use it would be this truck here.
That or two of them go to just fix a
Yeah.
sign. They would use that vehicle,
Certainly be cheaper.
yeah. And just basically want a good, reliable vehicle. Maple Grove Estates, we had them in here a few times. This is one that has the issue with the stormwater, so. We talked about it, and we said the stormwater, they would actually maintain that permit and we wouldn't have anything to do with it. All we would be doing is maintaining the road. And. The maintenance and repair of the road. Part of that road takeover policy, because we didn't see this being built, was gonna be to. Have some borings done. I only made 2 copies just to save paper. The engineer sent the 6 possible locations, makes sense to Kevin and I. The one thing I wanna stress to the engineers, don't take them all out of the center of the road. Get a couple of them closer to the edge of the road, so we really see. How well they did across the width of the road. The reason I'm bringing it up, I told the engineer to hold off till I talked to the board. To see if we're in agreement that if. These borings come back the way that it was supposed to be put in. That we are gonna. Work with the. The homeowners there to take this one over. As long as they meet the requirements that we have in our road takeover policy.
That includes stormwater.
We would take over the maintenance and repair, but we wouldn't take over the road. We would sign an agreement, we would write up, it's a legal agreement that. Other people have sent to us that talked about. Essentially. We own the road, but we don't, so we would just maintain it, repair it.
Yeah.
But this way it keeps us out of the stormwater business for that area.
I'll go back to the original question I had way back. Is that gonna stand the legal challenge?
That's in for review, and we haven't got that back.
Alright, because before I commit. Or vote to take over a road, I want it.
Yeah, this is, again, we would just be signing for the maintenance and repair.
I know, but there's an issue way back that's happened, and in fact, I think it was in Highgate. Where they were doing some work on maintaining a private road, more or less, and. Somebody in Highgate brought the town to court, and the state in the court ruled that the Highgate, town of Highgate could not maintain that road because it's a private road. But this may be okay because we have this policy, but I just wanna make sure.
Yep, okay, that's it, yep. We will. Speak to Brian and get that answered, so. Yeah, cause we sent that shortly after the meeting, but it hasn't been.
Yeah.
We haven't got an opinion back.
You should get that back to us in writing.
Yep.
So we can present it to the board, so everybody knows.
I will pass that on to the engineer, so I'm gonna recommend he holds off doing the board, so we're comfortable with that, thank you.
Are we paying for the boring or are the landowners?
We're not paying for any of them.
Okay,
I've come to you next meeting and with a breakdown and whether we wanna go for an extended warranty on the new truck. New truck just went down the other day to had a light come on, thing called a snow door. You're plowing and kicking up a lot of snow, the intake door shuts and takes the air from a different location. Light came on, went down there, shut it off, started it up, light didn't come on. So they drove it down again and now they fixed it, so.
you don't know what it's gonna cost, do you?
Yes, we have a breakdown, but we're gonna talk with somebody and get a little more information before we come to the board, just give me a heads up.
Yeah, because the problem with this new equipment today is a lot of computers, a lot of electronics. And emission controls, and I don't care what kind of model, make, it doesn't make any difference, there's always problems.
That's why we wanna have that discussion, because.
Yeah, I think we should today.
Three or four trips, yeah, 3 or 4 trips in there at 4 or 5,000, we
Yeah.
pay for what we're gonna come back to you, so.
You know when the limited warranty sets run out?
We have like a year, some of it's a year, some of it's a couple of years. That's the other piece, we wanna have that detail. Some of the items I think are 2 years and this extended another 5 and gets it out for 7 years. That's all I have unless folks have any questions for me. 7B LVRT update.
Well. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Heath Price. Is gonna come in and assuming that we get the bond that they're required. They'll sign the contract. That, you know, we can't do it until we get those bonds, but it's not in schedule at 10 o'clock. Find out. So that's where we are on that.
They did sign the acknowledge the notice of award, so they're engaged now and things are gonna start moving pretty quick. Update on local option tax.
Okay, really not, it is in the pipeline down there, it's in, I did speak, because they were on a week's break last week. Or a town meeting break. And last Monday, I did speak with Carol Brannick, who sits on the House Ways and Means Committee. And that's where this bill was gonna end up. So, and I did the sales pitch and what, she said it makes perfect sense to her, but I said, well. For some reason, the tax department doesn't want, you know, they're having no problem getting the bids, they're just voting like that. So we've got her in our board, she'll talk with the other members on the committee. And then it comes up, so.
Did it make crossover?
There was a whole, I'm not sure, because I haven't talked to anybody since Friday, but whether it did or not. But a money bill from Lang, no, there is exceptions to crossover.
That's considered a money bill?
Yes. Money involved.
What's the anticipated timeline, we might see a decision, couple of years out?
Well, no, if there's the committee and then voted on by the House and will go to the Senate. It could be passed. But the legislature adjourned by the time for that. But if it doesn't make it this year, they can still bring it up next year. And and then we have to get forward.
Can't be the only town in that situation, unless the other towns pushing for it,
No, they don't think that.
they don't think about it, okay.
My understanding is that I haven't been there recently, town Woodstock, they each had a separate. That's what's.
So that means the village gets 2%.
Yeah.
Now, 50% if they assessed it through the entire town.
The town, the village is included in the town, so the town tax, what's the sales, local option tax and they get it for the whole town, which includes the village, but the village would only get it for the village area, but in the village, they'd be paying 2%.
Village would be paying 2%, yes, the village doesn't get 2%.
Right.
I haven't been down to Woodstock, so I haven't had the opportunity to go by some and see what happened, so the other town, we got one in Pittsburgh Falls, where town meeting, they were interested, so old Matt Walker that reached out to Penny DeMar and their representative Penny DeMar and you know, they're reasonable companies, they're the best thing to do if they want to do something. It doesn't make any sense, it's less confusing to have one. Yeah. Than having to split it out, so. But common sense doesn't always prevail, especially with towns.
Okay, update on scope and study, looks like you have things started by asking a question, because that piece of paper looks like they just put it together. Thank you for asking the question. It's been quite a while since
Yeah.
capital discussion, right?
Yeah, that's why and where the state transferred the money to put regional planning in charge of it. And there was no PAC meeting this month. Hopefully it'll be one next week, yeah.
Very good. Okay, Jerry Mill water line.
Okay, Rick Cummings has bounced this easement agreement back and forth. Between Joel and I, we've tweaked it, we took out some language that was very well. They were using the city of St. Albans, but it really shouldn't apply. They were using the town of Swanton and granted a condition for it, goes on with the city of St. Albans water. So things of that nature, we had to clean it up. And so we've gotten and we also have it so that the board can just if they're in agreement, make a motion to appoint me as the person to sign it. With that, the last thing was this morning, had it that in the 8-inch water line would run the entire length of the we mentioned again the city of St. Albans, but we said that the city has agreed that Cummings can connect to and own this line from the hydrant at the connection valve. Their hydrant, that hydrant, the connection valve located 4 feet west of the Italy Page serving the shoulder. For an 8-inch water line to be tied to the connection valve located in short distance from shoulder. So because we took the St. Albans city right out of it. And and that the city of St. Albans has agreed to grant Cummings a temporary construction easement, permanent easement to the 8-inch water line. To the connection valve. So that's their valves that are allowing him to get there. And then so that's it. I'm kind of looking at this and it's kind of cut and pasted here.
But the bottom line is if the board agrees that Brian can sign this. If he makes the change to the sentence, it's a pretty straightforward cut, it's not in the actual pavement, it's on the, they're just a few feet beyond it, so pretty straightforward. And
We have no liability here, that's all.
other than Shoreland Road, when it's, we wanna make sure when it's done, the dirt road is restored back to it. But they own the line, they maintain the line, you know.
What about if there's a break in the future under the road, if that can be, how's that gonna be?
He will take care of that. Cummings will take care of it.
Does it say in there that it'll be returned to the town standards?
That could be
A paved road at some point in time.
Right, and it'll match the existing.
Okay.
Because if we ever pave it, we need to take a look at what the actual depth of the gravel is and make it a uniform the whole
right.
distance, but this is to return it to the existing sand and gravel.
Is there gonna be a homeowners association up there? The Rick isn't a leader. I'd like to see him with the 200, but he's not another.
There is one presently.
So they assume the responsibility, the early days of the point, it always has to be disturbed. Rick's the manager's word, he repair it and put it back into order. But once he's out of the picture, who would take that
Well,
responsibility?
he's heirs of the sign, so if he assigns that to the homeowners association, the homeowners association.
The only problem in homeowner association is they don't stay together. That's why we were talking about possibly adding something in our zoning bylaws.
That's a disaster.
Really?
But yeah, I don't need to go there.
Yeah, maybe you can just clarify that a little bit, Brian.
Yeah.
Once he's out of the picture, who does take that responsibility? I understand there is the signs, but we might have to be more specific.
Well, if he doesn't assign it, then
Exactly.
we'll be running around trying to find his ghost to
Yeah.
well, actually, well, you know, St. Albans will shut it off and it won't get fixed until the homeowners. And that's a fairly good run to that cornfield.
Yeah. Well,
They had the blue, that staked out the other day, and that's a pretty good length of water line.
Will you need a motion for us to have Brian give the signatory on this?
When we're
If, do you want the clarification first?
Is it gonna hold this up? I mean,
Frost isn't out of the ground,
Okay, well, we'll wait. Up to
if you,
you.
if, well, I mean, I'm comfortable. I talked to Brian that we can complete this next meeting, and I said, well, we can up tonight, but if you got a question like that, we get the answer.
You can solve it, that's not a big issue,
Okay.
trying to identify who
Who's
takes,
gonna be,
who's next in line.
Yeah.
It doesn't clarify.
And if we think there's an issue, then we won't move forward and talk about it next meeting.
Is that in the agreement that it'll. Whoever's responsible or heirs or however you
well, it's
say it,
heirs and son.
it's in there.
Just that way,
Yeah, just heirs.
but he has to turn it over to somebody, right?
And we don't wanna leave that blank.
No.
I'd like to see specificity that it would be the homeowners association, see if they would accept them.
And the other thing, I guess, just a clarification is if the road is improved in the future, that agreement might wanna say it'll be brought back to the standards as it exists at that time. So if it was 2 years from now, it's still a dirt road, then they bring it back to the way it is. But if we raise, we do upgrade the road,
Oh, any damage done by the water line break would have to come back to the
Yeah.
standard.
yeah,
Yeah, that's, they would be liable at that point, so that. Any more on that?
I make that motion that
Steve make the motion that with the
Okay.
corrections and the concerns. Seconded by Earl, any further discussion? Hearing none,
Just to clarify, that the corrections are in there. You want me to bring it back or go ahead and
if we're comfortable that we've addressed the concerns to use authority to sign that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. New town business discussion of 2024 audit. Request for proposal.
Okay, well, as you know, we put out a request for proposals for several auditing firms, and there were 5 of them. And none of them replied, well, some replied that they weren't able to do it. And including Ann Budge. And so that kind of goes with A and B on there, it's gonna be a joint discussion. Because in talking with Chris Lee from Ann Pike, he is the only one that is well knowledgeable in the firm on municipal auditing. And when we adopted the standards back in 2023 for auditing, accounting, financial reporting policy, with the sample from VLCT, it says the accounting practices of the town will conform to the general accepted accounting principles for local governments established by the Government Accounting Standards Board, which is also known as GASB 34. We are not set up to do GASB 34. It's an expensive process to switch it. Cannot be switched now. It's in the middle of here. And in speaking with Nemrick, they said that it's not necessary for us to be compliant with GASB 34. Does not affect grants, contrary to what the state of Vermont told us, and that probably over 50% of the towns and cities of Vermont do not comply with GASB 34. So for the time being, I would suggest that we take the policy that we got, remove that out of there. And then I will contact Chris Lee to see if they remove the audit in 2024 with that removed.
aren't they doing the 24 now?
No,
Okay, 22 and 23.
3 have been done, but.
Well, they're going to 23, they gathered the info, right?
The 23 is.
They're just not done with
They're
it.
just about done, so, but we wanna get somebody more on.
Right.
And so, I will, his mom passed away here this week, funeral's tomorrow, so I'll call him later in the week, but. See if we put this out, we may be able to do the 2024 on it. And
Didn't they start that stuff?
They did the 2023, but we they decided to put it out to an RFP, so they're not gonna start until,
And they declined the RFP.
And nobody else responded.
Del Brandon and Sergeant said it was too big for them to handle, they got enough for their present staff. Apparently, from what I have had a friend I went to high school with, a couple of them are CPAs, and nobody's going into that line of work. Or very few that are in.
Well, they changed the regulations in one too, you have to be you have to have a master's in accounting.
Oh,
Yeah, I gotta tell you that, but,
Uh,
so. Are we gonna be able to get 2024 on it? completed?
well, that's what I'm gonna ask, if Chris, if they would do it for 2024.
What kind of pressure, that much?
At Pike, if this was removed. Would you be able to do that?
Oh, you gotta amend our policy.
Right, retroactive,
Basically, our policy, we aren't doing it. That form of
we're
accounting,
not doing it now,
what I'm hearing.
alright, we just have to make this retroactive so that it doesn't affect.
Well, I would make a motion that we amend the policy to that, to accomplish that. We want.
Right, okay.
November 7th.
Yes, retroactive.
And now that, the bulk of that policy will stay in, it's just
Right,
that.
it's just that one thing.
That one section,
Eventually, we won't have a choice, to utilize it.
but we need to know ahead, further ahead, so that. You're talking a major overhaul and actually hiring a CPA firm, come in and do this transition. It's not, it's an expensive process.
But not necessary to do right now.
Not in this, so remember, this is more.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
A second.
To change the policy. Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Just one question, we had talked about meeting with Price to go over the 2023 results, and I think I sent in, everybody probably sent in a whole list of questions. If that's still in play, line,
But we'll be able to
we'll make it complete.
complete it. I'll ask him next week. Still is aware like that.
Yes,
Okay. Moving on then to the letter of support for the 2025 SAP run, the deal of April 27, 2025.
I'll second.
Motion been made and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. That was a motion to approve, right? Okay. That's what I assumed. Okay. Community and economic development.
Not much to report, we've got, well, a new store opening, and, not, we had somebody else. And received 2 phone calls, they were looking for a 10,000 square foot building to, for retail, which we don't have available. Maybe they should, consider, making a phone call to certain individuals. Probably. But I don't know, if that's where this is.
Right.
So, I don't think that's quite, that's where.
You were looking right here in Swan.
In Swan.
Anywhere in Swan.
Anywhere in Swan. And, so.
And the Maple City Candy Building, you wouldn't.
Well, that's possible, I'm not sure if it would, it is for sale, I told them that, they knew that,
which one are you talking about?
well, the old Legion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, it's an old building of the builder. It's, but, so.
Are they in a hurry, Brian?
I think so, because they said we right off the bat, well, I know it's just gonna take a year and a half for everything process. That's it, depends what you got.
I don't know if I would move something forward at the cheese place. But I know there's a lot of stuff to do there too.
So they're looking to put more
Retail,
retail.
how about that place across the top of the bridge? Well, those little signs in it,
Oh, that's small.
it's too small.
It's pretty, there's no parking.
What about the old restaurant by the liquor store?
Who's turning that down?
Yeah, that wouldn't be.
Who's turning that down, Gabriel?
They're gonna tear it down?
I was gonna turn it down.
And they're gonna redevelop that.
Yeah, that's like-
He's gonna, I thought, don't hold me to it, he was gonna tear it down, build a new like liquor store and that, and then move all of that over and then tear that down and rebuild.
Yeah, that was looking with a certain amount of funding and everything, so
Make it
it's
go
slow to
slow.
go at snail's pace right now, but anything else?
No.
Anything from a remote song perspective?
No, are we getting together this week or no? Next week? We're gonna get together next week, hopefully we'll end up with some kind of idea of what we're gonna look for the signs, and you know. And the computer and there's already been some work that Eagle Pictures done. They're waiting for, you know, what we bring back as a basically that sign. Image, and then we'll start getting some pages to look at.
Yeah.
We've got some businesses that, you know, we got a list of businesses that we've been, you know, that they have. So, you know, that's where we are right now.
Okay.
Inputting and collecting a lot of data, pictures, so on and so forth. So,
Any other necessary business?
I read over the minutes of the developmental review board. And it doesn't seem like they were rushing to get a volunteer for the Northwest Regional Planning Commission. That's something to.
I did actually have one person, I spoke to Ross a couple days ago. And have someone that is looking into it, we didn't have a definite yes or no yet, but. And we, you know, encouraged them to help nudge that individual along, so we'll see. That would have been after those minutes and stuff when we had that discussion.
Okay, so.
Yeah. You what, saying you wanna do it?
No.
Okay, no, that's hoping.
Come on, you're doing everything else.
It's broad,
But just a thought on that, should we appoint somebody temporary, can we get a full-time in case there was somebody, if there was an important vote for him? Cause we have 2 votes, we had,
we do have 2 votes.
and the village has 2 votes too, so. I mean, just until we can find somebody to do the position, you know, and you don't know, when you're talking with Ross.
yeah. From your perspective of the meetings you've been attending, not gonna. Sway the votes very much,
I don't think so.
I say we give it another couple weeks, but.
I mean, we don't meet again until the end of the month, so I mean, I'm.
Okay.
I think you're all right.
Alright. Correspondence, we good?
Yeah.
Public comment? Anything?
Well, I suppose maybe
You just tell them who you are.
I'm here as public really, but I'm Xander Jensen, I'm the senior loss control consultant for the northwestern part of Vermont with Vermont League of Cities and Towns. I'm so happy to live right here on Hog Island, just survived my first winter.
Welcome, neighbor.
My compliments to the road crew this winter, keeping things clear all the way out there, so anyway, just sort of here just to learn more about the process and sit in on my first new hometown select board meeting. So I'm sort of in part removing the VLCT hat, but I'm mostly here just to remember the public to enjoy the process, so thank you all.
Well, thanks for the introduction and welcome to Swanton and so when you look, do we look you up when we got a few vacancies here we're trying to fill?
So long as there's not a conflict of interest,
Right.
I said the same thing to the village too, by the way, so so long as we're all above board there, but we'll have this conversation, so very nice meeting you all. Again, looking forward to partnering with the town, just as a heads up, we're doing a safety walk around the library. This Friday, which I'm looking forward to, not that it necessarily pertains here, but also. Working with the village to take a look at their water treatment plant this week. So sort of a 2-for-1 deal. Looking forward to providing safety insight in a way that stretches the dollar here in Swan. So thank you.
Did you do? Did you do our town garden last year?
Yeah, really solid, really good bones in that building, really happy with most of the stuff, I know that we're working on one or two other pieces. Dotting the i's, crossing the t's, so to speak, but we've got good templates for those who, as in regards to policy. That I hope will translate well to the town of Swan.
Good, thank you.
One.
Thank you.
Okay, upcoming events.
Thursday, March 27th, 2025 at 6 P M, the DRB will meet in the town offices and on Zoom. Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 at 6 P M will be a regular select board meeting. It is not an April Fool's joke, but it will be here at the town offices and Zoom. Thursday, April 10th, 2025 at 5:30 will be a planning commission meeting here at the town office and by Zoom. And then again, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 6 P M will be a regularly scheduled select board meeting at the town offices and by Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Executive session for personnel, I think a motion.
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential personnel information for which the premature disclosure to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Okay, Steve.
Oh, yes.
Nick? Yes. Joel, yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes. I move that based on our just made findings that the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
Okay, Steve.
Right.
Yeah. Steve.
Take it easy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nick. Nicole.
That, I'll make a motion that we exit executive session.
Motion made and seconded to exit executive session, discussion, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, moved. Entertain a motion for hire, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we advertise for assistant zoning administrator. Which would be 24 hours a week. Do we wanna put the $20 to $25 range? Based on experience?
Make the motion and Brian can cut that in back pocket.
Okay.
I think it technically needs to be deputy zoning administrator.
Deputy zoning administrator.
For a period of minimum of 1 year
12
with a
years,
possibility,
12 months.
possibility of extension. Okay, that motion been made, seconded.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
And we will adjourn.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been made, seconded to adjourn, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
So, what's gonna,
No, they